morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are. It's been some time since my last podcast. Uh, I want to say I hope all is well with you. However, we are getting all the fire news and flooding news. It's just a paradox. Uh, but in the end, it's all about Earth. And as a science teacher and ecology teacher, and as somebody who has invested his life, you know, to deal with these matters, deforestation, climate change, conservation of soil, conservation of streams and rivers and watersheds and water basins and so on. So to be honest, it's since July, especially here in Western Aegean area, it's been very hot. That we didn't get any rain. We didn't get any rain. It was just too dry all over the place, and then this caused massive fires, forest fires. I mean, including human negligence and human fault and etc. I'm not going to go in there, but if there is fuel, anything can spark and combust it. You know, I remember my first camping in Lake Geneva. You know, I just got a small tent. It was my first ever camping in a tent. I just booked my campsite and went there in Lake Geneva, beautiful place, and and I got there and set up my tent and etc. And once you set up, what do you do next? You just start a fire. You have to build a fire, and I think at that time I even forgot to get some firewood or something. But good thing that there were good people camping next to me, and then just the person walked, you know, and said hi and everything. It was just and what do you do? Who are you? Etc. And then I just said I am from Turkey. I'm just a teacher working in education, etc. And then turns out he was a teacher as well. He was teaching English as a second language in Turkey. So what a coincidence, you know. Well, we just chatted. It was just nice to see somebody who knows Turkey. I mean, it's a blessing. What a blessing it is. In the middle of woods, you meet somebody who knows Turkey. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. Well, not to mention the ex that was like stuck on the tree near my the tent. I I forgot to bring an axe, and then I just looked over the tree. What do I see? An old axe wrapped with the leather, the lining, etc. I said, okay, I'll take it. Well, he gave me some wood. I'm not gonna just go into further detail. He gave me some like firewood. Well, and then next thing, I want to start a fire. Guess what? It was wet. It just didn't catch fire. That's what I'm trying to say. If the wood is wet, it doesn't catch fire. I mean, it just you're just creating lots of smoke, and then he just noticed. I saw I gave you wet wood and everything, you know. uh, well, I wish you told me earlier. You know, it's just well, it rains. In Wisconsin area in the summertime it rains, and it's a good thing. You know, just a green country. The you know that that's what I like about Wisconsin. You know, it's lots of forest, vegetation, and lakes, lots of crystal clear lakes, and to enjoy. I mean, you can fish and swim and boat and canoe and just whatever. So that's one thing. I mean, it's just the drier the climate, the air, it just stuff dries up. You know, one spark, anything. You know, you can even start a fire. You know, with a what do you call not lens. I mean, with a lens. You know that you remember those like life you know, camping whistles. You know, life saving whistles. You know they have a they have built a thermometer and a lens, so you can start fire. You know, if you ever stay in the wild alone and need fire to survive. You know, so it has a lens. You can. So all that dry vegetation and anything that just focuses sunlight, it just creates a fire. I mean, I'm not mentioning the failure of the human equipment and the maluse of the land and everything else. It's just so as long as there's fuel, that's why in America you cannot store gasoline in the house. There's just no way. The insurance company won't pay you a penny if you store gasoline in the house. It's not permissible. It's forbidden because it's highly flammable. Catches fire. What do? You just get yourself a garden shed and then keep it in there. The fuel for the mower and stuff. So, excuse me. So the dealing with the wildfires, I am fed up recommending stuff on Twitter, Instagram, and etc. It's just if you are doomed to turn into a Sahara, desert, let it be. What am I gonna do if the whole place is burning down? It's just if the climate continues to be drier, and if we do not get enough rain, and on top of the deforestation, because nobody cares about forests and trees anymore. It's all about the economy. It's just getting the dollars and decreasing inflation and this and that. However, I mean to run even the basic farming operations, you need water. I mean, without water, what are you gonna do? It's the driest season, and and if you get dry seasons for a couple years in a row, you just drain all the dams and etc. And there is no creek left or a river left behind. So water conservation. That is in total, and in part because what happened is in Milwaukee in the last week's flood, we know there were some air quality problems regarding the regarding the Canada forest fires. I mean, if you, the particles, the particles, per million ppm, that just the measurement, you know, parts per million, whatever. The particulate matter in the air, if it increases, it creates a surface area for water to condensate, you know, and then you have the water body, that's Lake Michigan, mess of water, melted glacier, some thousand years ago. Wisconsin actually is the place where the ice age ended. It's interesting. I mean, that just the western Milwaukee, Oconomowoc, and Kettle Moraine North, Kettle Moraine South. I've been to all those places. I camped there. I mean, there are lots of sand dunes because the glaciers melted, and then they left all the sand and everything in it. Just sometimes bringing big boulders and etc. From up north. Eventually, even the Menominee Valley, happened in such way with the melting of the glaciers. I mean, it's just tons of ice, scraping land and melting and forming all those lakes and valleys. So what happened? I mean, and the water basin wise, we know Lake Michigan water basin, in Milwaukee area. I think it stops along the Menominee City, Highway 45, ish. There is the continental line there, the continental separation, meaning the rainfall falling west of the Menominee City, it just goes to the Mississippi River. It just that's the drainage. All the rivers in that section, but the east of Menominee flows into the Lake Michigan. So there was even debate back in the day, 2005, 2006. Should they pump water from Lake Michigan into those western cities, that is located in the Mississippi water basin, because if you pump water from one lake to another, and if it doesn't return back, you get water shortage. Among the apart from the political maps, which I hate, to be honest. It's just I hate political and maps. It's just I respect, because they change every other 50 years. Why should I respect? Excuse me. Just excuse me on that. I am a biology ecologist. I mostly care about national, natural, the ecologic borders, because that's what matters in terms of water and etc. And often actually leads to the wars, because they want to get the water, like in Syria, Golan Heights. That's where the water is. Of course, they want to invade Golan Heights. That's just that's where the water is. That's the oasis. It's just you just want to protect water. In the desert, especially with this climate. Getting hotter and hotter, drier and drier. So yes, in terms of maps, we were talking about maps. and I mostly care about geographic maps, rather than the political ones, because they change every other 50 years anyways. I mean, Sudan, now we have like South Sudan and North Sudan, and guess what? When I was going to the elementary school, there was this country called Yugoslavia. It's not anymore, so there are lots of, and with the wars going on in Crimea, and hopefully I am wishing that there is an agreement now. In the meantime, the talks are going on, and as my parents, they migrated from Crimea into Central Anatolia. My both grandparents came from both Meskhetian area, Krasnodar area. My father's side, they migrated from Krasnodar area, Meskhetian Turks. My mother's side, they came from Crimea. So I am a Crimean Turk, and in that sense, in the last 200 years, from the beginning of the Kainarca agreement with the Ottomans and Russians, towards the wars with Russia, Ottoman, Russian wars, and invasions and etc. So till the revolution, after the revolution, the relations got better, because the Ottoman Empire collapsed, and then they established the borders. The eastern Turkey now is well-established border with Russia and Armenia, and good things are happening to Armenia, and Azerbaijan agreed, to cease their hostility, and then the wars and everything, and then they are now opening the, trade routes and etc., which is a good thing, It's just because one of my, grandparents just was kidnapped by Russians, and he stayed one of the islands in Azerbaijan as a captive for 5 to 10 years, surviving on moldy bread, so that's so war is not a good is a good thing. I mean, of course you have to defend your land, but it's just what is the motivation behind the war? With the Russian mentality, we have always been taught that they wanted to reach the warmer seas, which I don't get. I mean, like, what, you can just you can dump warm water from the nuclear reactors and warm the Black Sea, for God's sake. I mean, it's like what's so special about the Mediterranean? I mean, you were not born there. I mean, you have no business there. I mean, you are welcome to visit and swim in Turkish waters, I swear. I mean, there's nothing wrong. And I've been to Moscow, as a transit passenger. I mean, I've seen from the plane. It's a beautiful country, lots of forestry, etc. I flew to Sweden from Moscow, Sharapev airport. Nice granite, though. I like the granite work. That's I give kudos to Putin for selecting the granite stones. See, I am being positive. So I am being positive. Let's hope the war ends today. The stupid war. I know, like Russia sold Alaska to America, to save itself from the wrath of English, which at the time was attacking like rabid dogs, excuse me, like they did in Gallipoli, for nothing. English in Gallipoli, for nothing, absolutely for nothing. They killed millions of people, including their soldiers, our soldiers, Australia, you name it. they from all their colonies, they brought the soldiers just to fight against Turks. Bullshit, bullshit. I am glad the British Empire ended, and Turks played a great role in that. I am proud of my history. I am proud of my history on that part. By the end of World War One, we know the British Empire collapsed, ended. I mean, it's just reduced to a island, and we're watching an eye on you. Never again, never again, never again. Try to trespass into Black Sea, into Anatolia, into Greece. Stay away, okay? You have no business in Greece, in Black Sea, in Russia, in Anatolia, and in Middle East, okay? Thank you. You have invented the oil drilling technology. That's about it. That's about it. Thank you for that. Let's say, you know. And we know Darwin is a great biologist. I am nothing. I'm not against the scientist. I appreciate all the scientific work of the Royal Academy and all that. But see, the lighting on my, it's just. Hope I'm getting. I think I'm getting a better lighting this way, or this way. Anyways, so I have to figure all these lighting things. Where was I? Yes, we were talking about Alaska and Russians and wars and everything. Hopefully, they will reach an agreement, peace agreement today. With President Trump and President Putin, and so that Mr. Trump can get a Nobel Peace Prize. We know Obama got one, but it's just. Did he earn it? To me, no, he did not. Excuse me, but Obama did not earn the Nobel Peace Prize. I mean, after his time, the hell broke loose. Libya, Syria. I mean, now look, the map of Syria. It's gonna change soon. It's gonna turn into Yugoslavia. Trust me. I mean, it doesn't look good there. It doesn't look good there. So I wish a successful meeting, between the great leaders, hope they will reach an agreement, and like I said, I am from Crimea. It's just the Ukraine is fighting, for so long, with the help of West, but this war is not going anywhere. It's just ruining Russian economy. It's ruining the lives of many, both in Ukraine and Russia. There are Russian Tatars, there are Ukrainian Tatars. Well, Kadyrov, for example, he's fighting on the Putin side. Why are we fighting each other? Useless. It's just and give some credit to Crimea. It's just that's all that. It's an important peninsula there. It's important because even the throughout the history, food to Constantine came from Crimea, because it's an area filled with lakes and fish and grains and etc. Such a beautiful place, Crimean Peninsula, and all those lands. Steppe, that's a Pontic steppe in Ukraine. That's where the grain, most of the time, the grain to Constantine came from there. Constantine is a small city. It's just an enclosure. It's a city in stone walls. So hopefully it ends. and people can start their lives. Yes, back to flooding and ecological disasters. Yes, in Turkey we have suffered many forest fires. We had great ones in Gallipoli. It just burning suburban housing and etc. Cars. It was devastating. And on top of that, the province I am living in, that's Balıkesir. We just had just a couple days ago, we just had a strong earthquake that kind of grounded, you know, 10 to 20 apartment buildings. They just leveled them. People now looking for shelter and tent supplies and etc. The typical earthquake supplies so Sindirga, I've been to Sindirga for a research. Back in the day, because there is a hot spring there, and then year 2001, they were some claim based on science or not. They were just saying that the water, had radiation in it. So was it like a Chernobyl? Imagine a hot spring contaminated with radioactive, isotopes and such. So with the Balıkesir, university, back in the day, we had a genetic, professor, with another a friend. I was just a fresh graduate, and I was just looking for anything in the lab. So we went to the Sindirga town and collected buccal samples. You get a wood stick and just shove it, of course with permission and everything. With the alderman's permission or whatever. It's just at the time I was just a technician. We were just collecting buccal samples and then smearing them on glass, and staining them with some nucleic stains to look at micronucleus formation, which is an aberrant form of cell division and etc. It's not a good thing, observing micronucleus. It gets increased with the aging and everything. I think we saw increased rates after the ages of 50 and 60. It gets more and more. Anything toxic you eat or consume turns into micronucleus in your buccal cells. So your mouth is very important, an indicator of your health. That includes dental hygiene and all the cranial nerves and blood brain barrier and etc. But it was a it was a huge earthquake. It's just because it's a tectonically active area. They say that there's this almost 200 kilometers long fault line there, and yet to be honest, we are expecting another one. They say that, there's a seismic areas yet to break. Maybe we will have them in couple months. We could. It's just because only a small section broke. We have some remaining sections all the way to Emet Kütahya. Just that's what the specialists in the area. The remaining of the fault line. So on top of all the forest fires, we. I was at home and it shook. Really hard. It was scary, and like I said, that almost 10 to 15 buildings, collapsed, which again includes human, intervention, cutting columns, and mismanagement of the housing and etc. That's a whole different issue. But these are rural areas. I mean, you have like animal shelters and such. So and then the and the following earthquakes. After the main one, the main one is like 6.2, and then you get a series of other earthquakes follow-ups. It's just like 4 points and 5 points and such. And then if the building survived the first one, it cannot survive the other ones. So people are scared to go into their homes and houses and etc. So the we should not forget, at least in the people are still scared because, like I said, I mean the remaining sections can still generate, and then back in I think 100 years ago, almost a century ago, Balıkesir again survived another earthquake, and the biggest mosque in the city, the Zanos Pasha Mosque, just collapsed. It's just imagine. It just and they rebuilt it, and a smaller version actually, at the time, because Ottoman Empire was in financial stress 100 years ago. It was just wars and everything, going back to Gallipoli, it's just we were busy with all these Russian wars and west at the Gallipoli, with the Agamemnon ships and everything. We were busy sinking, British ships, trespassing into Aegean waters and trespassing into Istanbul. They have no business in Istanbul, and etc. I'm glad those days are over, but yes, let's now I have almost half an hour, 32 minutes past. I just want to speak now a little bit about the flooding in Milwaukee. Yes, the forest fires in Canada might have triggered, might have caused this flooding. It was huge. 10 inches of rain, 14 inches of rain in 24 hours. That's insane. That's just too much. They say 1 inch of rain in the area, metropolitan area, equals to 1 billion gallon of water. 1 inch of rain the city can handle. 1 inch of rain. 10 inch? No way. No way. I mean, it's just, and then with all the housing, built on the existing rivers and valleys. Yes, there are now projects, Minamene River, Valley project and other projects, but where are you going to put the rest of the 9 billion gallons of water? It's just too much. It was just a Noah's flood. It's just people don't believe the scripture, or it doesn't matter. It's you believe in Bible, or Quran or Torah. It doesn't matter. Even as a pagan, I mean that look at history. It is full of flood stories. From Utnapishtim, the Gilgamesh, the Epic of Gilgamesh, all the way to, to this age. It's just since the last ice age. I mean, it's just there is one story in common. That's the flood story. Okay, so let's stick to that topic. Flood, yes, flooding. I mean, of course, it's a summer rain, you're expecting, but the strength is just too much. Like I said, it's just, 50 billion gallons of water. There's no way. It should drain into Lake Michigan freely, but you're building houses and roads and and stupid creeks and covering them up, and it just there's no way for the water to go. It's just gonna flood. It's just gonna flood, inundate the whole city. I mean, it's just you know, and to briefly, you know, I want to briefly mention the ongoing festival, Telluride Festival in Colorado. You know, it just they say it's been going on for like 45 years. You know, from medicine to conservation, we neglected the mushroom science and works and you name it. I mean, mushroom science is biomedical science. It's just end of story. I mean, it's just today in the labs in Saccharomyces cerevisiae to start with. I mean, human history started with you know, wine and beer. To be honest, I mean, just we're talking about beer here, wine here. You know, just the Sea of Galilee. You know, Jesus. You know, the Phoenicians. And, you know, the bread and wine. It's just I mean, back in the day, like it was so important to you know, because people were traveling by sea and everything, and then back in the day, you didn't have too much to know about the quality of your water, so it was safe to drink beer and wine. You know, people got thirsty, they were drinking beer and wine, you know, or other, you know, hydration methods. But if you're on a ship, you know, traveling, it's just, you know, your life depends on it. So, again, you know, fungi, it's just, you know, one of the domesticated organisms. You know, people don't know, but yes, I should say, it was domesticated. You know, from the time of pharaohs, from the time of Egypt and Sumerians and Phoenicians and so on. And then people just traveled to Iberia, you know, Spain and Portugal. They planted, you know, the grape varieties, the good ones, you know, over the wild, you know, ivy, you know, over the wild grapes already existing in the Mediterranean basin. You know, that just because grape loves sunshine, and it's actually it loves the actually dry climate. You know, see, plants with deep root systems, they don't bother as long as there is water in the ground. But if you pass beyond the root level and drain the ground, you are leaving nothing to the plants. You know, plants are able to grow their root systems well into the, you know, soil, well into the ground, and bring moisture up. That's how you deal with desertification. You can plant and steppes. You know, in the steppes you see lots of plants with deep root systems. Don't be fooled by what's above the ground. In the steppe, what's important is what's below the ground, the root system. The plants pump water from the soil, you know, like for example eucalyptus trees. You know, they were used to drain the marshes and swamps. There are many trees, even olive trees. They do grow well by the seaside. You know, the silver berries. God created many amazing trees that can survive the drought and the dry seasons. There is a way. The nature already invented these systems. You know, there is one thing we need to do, not to destroy these ecosystems, sand ecosystems, maquis ecosystem, the bush system of the Mediterranean, the red pines of the Mediterranean. They've been there for millions of the French pines, for example, they've been there for millions of years. The red pines, Pinus brutia. And as the elevation increases, you see other kinds of pine trees, and it is this cycle. Plants break down rocks that feeds into seas, and it just captures more carbon from the atmosphere. So we should respect pine ecosystems because they are so well adapted even to fire and to rocky terrain. Although all the volcanic rocks. I mean, if you travel to Aegean Islands, I mean, it's just rock, barren rock. There's not much growing there. Olives can grow, figs can grow, and then the pines can grow. I'm talking about the shoreline. Of course, as you go higher, you will see other forms of vegetation, oaks and chestnuts and whatnot. So it's important, to just analyze the vegetation and to know what plants are good for not, what plants are good for what, and use them, to fight deforestation, to fight climate change, to fight flooding. We should respect the creeks and the rivers. We should develop floodplains. We should try to capture as much water from the rain. Use rain barrels and such. Do not let it go to waste. Start up a garden. It's just use composting. Even fungi. What they do is in dry seasons. What happens? The trees suffer from drought, and it becomes a home to bacteria and eventually to fungi. And as trees die, they become a compost. They become a substrate for the fungal community, which helps with the formation of rain. Turning that wood, hydrolyzing that wood, into soil. It becomes humic soil, which captures water, keeps water, increases water retention. So that's why fungal diversity is important. We need to protect the fungal diversity. So again, hi, although all my friends, I know I met quite few people online. I wish I could participate in that festival, the Telluride Festival. I mean, great speakers. That start with Paul Stamets and many more podcasters. Flora Funga podcast, KK. Hi from Ayvalık. I know I think two of the participants are from Turkey. Just so at least we have two people participating from Turkey. That's great because like I said, I mean, especially in the science of fungi, we're like following 50 years behind. Like, I'm not joking. Trust me, we are at least 50 years behind in the fungal business and fungal cultivation, and in many places of the world, to be honest. At least 50 years we are behind. And speaking of which, I read some news yesterday. They were able to scientists, with the help of AI, they were able to restart the engines, the thrusters of the Voyager 1. It was like a billion miles away. Voyager 1 was the first, like, spacecraft, started traveling. It's just, I think, well beyond our solar system. I mean, it's just it's now in between, like, in between galactic space. It is beyond the solar system. I mean, it's just like interstellar. Yeah, that's the word. In it is now traveling in the interstellar space, and what they did, I think, with the help of AI, they decoded the hardware on it, and then they were somehow re- 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 rewrote the code, or whatever, so they were able to send a signal that started the engines, the thrusters. So I guess they can maneuver the a craft, the spacecraft better. So AI is doing some good work, analyzing the old circuits. It's just the transistors. It's like analyzing. See, I like old technology. Yeah, I mean, I am old school. I just and then you trust me. You need AI to understand us. You know. You will need, trust me. You will need AI to analyze, understand us. If we are old school, it's not easy to understand us. Because I was born in 70s. I am old school. I'm almost 50 years old. Like, you know, I'm almost 50 years old. And the age, we were living, it's just that it was completely different. I mean, even the population of Turkey was like 40 million. It is now like 80 million. So it's like doubled. The population even doubled. So which brings all the other problems like water shortages, food shortages, inflation. Everything is getting pricier, everything is getting expensive, and companies are going bankrupt one after another because of this so-called economic growth mumbo jumbo. That's the bullshit, capitalist bullshit. That every year you're gonna grow 5%, 10%. Where is all that material coming from? There's nothing left. The sea is polluted. We have turned land and the sea into microplastic hell. Our blood is getting clogged with microplastics. People are busy fighting the mRNA vaccines. That's they're like stopping the mRNA research and everything. To me, it's an international thing, because the USA is now at a cold war with China. I think that's part of that. I think they don't want to fund the mRNA, research in case the science gets stolen by China. That's my theory. That's my theory. It's just, I believe there's a cold war right now, even though we have all the fires going on with all the flooding and everything. To me, there's a cold war. That's why I said hopefully the Putin the Putin and the Trump will end the war, so that North Korean soldiers can go home. You know what I'm saying? So the North Korean soldiers can go back home. Go, 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 go back to North Korea. You have no business in Crimea fighting Ukrainians. Okay, and we know that China is feeding you. So the war must end. It's just You have no business in Crimea. Sorry, you are welcome to visit, the Bahçe Saray, and visit all the palaces and everything, the Turkish history there. That's about it. Do not bring weapons. you know, do not bring weapons to Russia. Ladies and gentlemen, I am into the fifth minute. I'm just gonna wrap this up in 10 minutes. So it's just, I am so sad for the people of Milwaukee. I lived in that city, and then I remember when I was trying to buy my house. We were visiting all the houses, and then the first thing I would look at the basement if I smelled anything moldy and etc. I mean, it was a no. If even if it is like a completely finished basement, even on mine, which was well above the street level, at least the 3 to 4 feet off the street, my house on St. Francis. Still, I had to use a dehumidifier because the basement is buried in sand, and it rains and everything. And there was even a small leakage. I had to use dry cement. That's the only way to patch. And extend. What do you do? Extend all the downpour gutters. Do yourself a favor. Go to Home Depot, extend them as much as possible, because now look, the ground is saturated. Okay, you got all this rain, 10 inch of rain. It's just too much. The ground may be already saturated, so now they are expecting another round of rain, another round of storm weather. The ground is already saturated. It's gonna pool. The water has nothing to go. It's just soaked. Okay, all right. The ground in Milwaukee is now soaked full. It just has no space to go. I mean, it's just so until it evaporates and finds a way. It's just in the meantime, what are you gonna do? Like I said, extend the downpour. Put extensions, and then keep them in barrels and anything. Do not get that water near your home. Okay. Just the first things first. Check your gutter systems, and make sure it's not clogged. And like I said, keep the water out of the house, and keep a generator. If the sump pump again starts to flow, use a pump. I mean, it just get a water pump. I mean, like those in aquarium pumps. Even use an aquarium pump. What am I gonna say? Like those diver pumps. Just even like the mushroom people use, like those humidifier pumps. You just dip it in the water and plug it, and it turns the water into moisture, and then you can vent out. So there's one way to do that. I mean, if you don't have the diver pump, it's just what are you gonna do? It's just, you have to drain. You have to drain your basement. You have to air, and then mold. Very, very dangerous. And I suggest, you just, I don't like. Normally, I don't like chlorine much, but hey, what are you gonna do? If you just you use the chlorine. I mean, it's just put it in a sprayer. Like deck washers. That the insecticide sprayers, them garden sprayers with the pump spray to kill the mold. That's just or you can say, if you don't want to use chlorine, use vinegar. Again, effective against the chitin of the fungal wall. The fungal cell wall has chitin on it, and one way to break it down is vinegar. So it's actually one of the eternal systems, back and forth. So the fungi has the antibiotics, and the bacteria has the vinegar to fight fungi. Yeah, vinegar. Wash your basement with vinegar to be safe. I mean, it's just if it is not made out of limestone, trust me, it will not melt. It's just one of the safest. It's just clean your basement. Just 4% vinegar, and on top of that, you can use isopropyl alcohol to sanitize. Remember, like we mushroom geeks. We mushroom people. We just we, we baptize with alcohol. I mean, we love alcohol. I mean, it's just we have to. I mean, it's just to kill the germs and anything, because we have to work in sterile conditions. The pasteurize or sterilize the grain, and pasteurize the substrate, and etc. So those are the cheap methods. You can everybody uh, can get access to vinegar. White vinegar is a bit strong. Excuse me. uh, White vinegar, like the colorless one, not the food grade. I think that's like 5%, the acetic acid. That's a bit stronger. Use that one, and then just go obsessive. I mean, OCD. Go OCD, cleaning that basement. That's what I recommend. You're just gonna take everything out. Go OCD. It just wash the walls, and and plug all the cracks and such. Plug the with the cement. Quick acting cement. They got it on I think on the Home Depot or something. Just get it like the 1 kilo is in a small bucket. It's just you just mix it. It just dries. It sets instantly. Because I had a same situation. I had a little crack in my basement. It was just flowing water out of it. It just that's how I did. That's how I did it. I just I applied patch, that cement patch, the quick one. It just dries instantly, and then it just plugs it. So yes, it's important, and drain, drain your establish some canals, whatever, to your garden, like protect outside the outside perimeter of your basement. Drain as much as water, and aerate, and then get humidifiers. I mean, it's just run the humidifiers. It's just on high setting. Use your AC to dry the air. Just open all the channels and give it. Just all means necessary. I mean, it just get the sunlight in. Use vinegar. Use isopropyl alcohol. As a sprayer. Just wash the whole place. Spray it. And just because otherwise the humidity will attract insects and other things, and just don't worry about it. We grow mushrooms. We sterilize the wood, the hay, and anything, you name it. If you have a pool, you can still sterilize all that stuff. You don't have to throw. Okay, you just get a hot tub, boil the stuff. I mean, it's just if you're like afraid of bugs and germs and such, it's just to be on the safe side, because there could be there is a sewage outflow. The Milwaukee Metropolitan Sewer District is actually now banning the beaches. Closed. All the beaches in Milwaukee area are closed due to the sewer outflow into the lake. So don't get into the beach zone. It's polluted right now. It takes at least to me, a week. And yet there's another storm coming, so let's to be on the safe side. It'll take maybe a month to see that water get cleaner. So everybody needs to do their part. It's just we've been trying to work with this. Even I have friends that just they're doing prescribed burns because with the rain, all the leaves, and especially in the fall time, gets ended up in the rivers and lakes, and it just clogs the system, clogs the you know the sewers, etc. The underground sewers and underground rivers. Those public works. So do not expose anything to flood. Do your part. Just secure everything. Do not. Like I said, the ground is already saturated. It's not gonna take anymore. Imagine it's just the sponge is already wet. It will not hold in. It's just there's no buffer zone. Okay, so it'll take some time for the water to drain, and then it's almost an hour, ladies and gentlemen. Again, it's just we are dealing with disasters here in Turkey. We are dealing with drought, with wildfires. I'm not gonna mention corruption and other things. That just these ecological disasters make me forget the political ones. I mean, it's just of course they are connected. Of course they are connected. Negligence, ignorance, negligence, deforestation, all the capitalist bullshit, the economic growth bullshit. Now farmers cannot find water. Even my hometown, they are like digging 200 meters. 200 meters. Back in my childhood, there was water in 20 meters. Now they are digging for water in the Halis River Basin, in the Kızılırmak region. It's just, I don't get it. I don't get it. Where did all the water go? You cannot pump from you can pump from the creek, but not all the time. It may not be safe in the first place. It needs to be treated, and then how you're gonna do agriculture without water? There's no way. We need ground water to do agriculture. We need dams and reservoirs to carry out, farming. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, I wish a peaceful agreement between Ukraine and Russia, and then I wish the best for the people of Milwaukee, who are affected from the flood. God bless you. But like I said, I tried to explain as much as I can in terms of sanitation and what you can do. And pray for us. And I think there is now wildfires going on in Greece and Portugal and France and Spain. And just like I said, this Mediterranean basin is already dry vegetation. The pine trees. I mean, they are full of resin. It's just fuel, just waiting for anything to catch fire. So I hope this will be all over. It will grow back again. Whatever the forest area, I am 100% sure it will grow back into the forest as long as we maintain the land as a forest. Pray for me as well. It's just how do I survive? I am still looking, for financial opportunities. That's just to say, there are many, there are many things I can use to make money, but I insist on earning my money based on my knowledge and expertise. It's just I'm a teacher, and I try to consult on these issues, and I try to be helpful to farmers, to businessmen, and everything else. I'm not great at becoming rich. I am not a capitalist maniac. I'm not like it's just I'm not against people who are rich. I mean, you can, of course, if you work hard, you can generate enough income to buy land and housing and nice cars. But I am against hoarders. They never stop. They have like 10 houses. They're trying to buy another 10. You know, it's just they never stop. It's just, I mean, you're gonna die, sooner or later. What's this all for? It's just, what are you gonna do with all this money? You're just gonna eat all of it? You have like 10 stores in downtown. The 10 buildings in downtown area. What are you gonna do? It's just that's too much nachos. You can't eat all that. Ladies and gentlemen, I love you all. Hope you have a nice summer. It's still not over. See, in my case, I haven't even dipped my toe in the sea yet. It's been so hot, and I hope I will get to enjoy some sea, the rest of the summer. Hopefully we'll get some better air. It's just too hot. It's just too hot. To 35 degrees Celsius, and it's like well above hundreds. It's just, and at my height and body mass, it's just I need too much water. I already like drink at least 5 liters a day. It's just to sleep, just to be able to sleep. It's just too much water, too much water. And it's my natural thing. I sweat a lot too, so it's a good thing actually. With all the rain, I think it rained in Spain and in Italy or someplace. I think Sicily or some southern. Hopefully we will get some colder air. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your summer. Bye bye.